We are live. What's up, my friend? Abby here. Welcome to the last Write With Me live stream of this month. So this is the last writing retreat live stream, but I am going to do Write With Me live streams in the future. So don't worry about that. If you're like, oh, this is the last one ever. No, it's not the last one ever. It's just the last week of my writing retreat, virtual writing retreat that I've been going on in June. And if I sound out of breath, it's because I am rushing around trying to get everything ready for this live stream. So welcome to the live stream, and let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. That's the first thing we have to do every time. So this month has been an interesting month for writing because I actually, I'm pretty happy with how much I was able to get done as far as in my writing projects this month. I was able to finish a big project that I've been working on for over a year now, which I call the Lighthouse book. It doesn't really have a name yet. I was able to finish that this month, and now I'm in the process of editing it. So I'm going through and doing my first draft edit. Okay, you can hear me? Awesome, great. Fabulous. So I'm going through doing my first draft edit of that book, which has been interesting. I like it and I'm slowly making it better. So yeah, that's what I'm currently working on. But I'm also working on another writing project, which you probably heard me talk about, and that is the co-write project that I'm doing with my sister, Kate. If you don't know who Kate is, she's the co-host of our podcast, The Kate and Abby Show. She's my sister, and she's awesome. And we are writing a book series together. And I'm so excited for it. It's going to be so much fun. And it already is a lot of fun. And that is actually what I'm going to be working on today. But I'm not going to be writing the actual first draft. I'm going to be writing the outline because it's a lot of world building. It's kind of more like the fantasy genre. It's not like high fantasy, but it is definitely has fantasy elements. So it requires a lot more world building than what I'm used to because I obviously write mostly contemporary, and that's doesn't ever require a lot of world building. So this has been an interesting experience, going to something new and different. And I'm actually really enjoying it. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. In today's live stream, I'm going to be working on the outline for that book, which is getting really, really long. I think I'm up to 15,000 words, I want to say, in the outline, which is quite a bit. But, you know me, I'm really long-winded with my outlines. So tell me what you're working on today. I know you guys were chatting in the chat box about your various writing projects, but I'd like to know what you're working on today. What genre is your work in progress, and what do you hope to accomplish in today's writing session? As always, our writing session is going to be 2 hours long, so we'll be here for 2 hours. For me, that's 10 to 12. It's 10 a.m. where I am right now. Also, tell me what time it is where you guys are, because I know you're all over the world, which is awesome. So yeah, we're gonna write for 2 hours. We're gonna do 25-minute sprints, word sprints, where I will be writing and you will be writing, and then we'll take a 5-minute break and I will chat with you guys, answer your questions, all of that. So that's how this rolls. Awesome. Looks like you guys are writing some really cool stuff. Dark fantasy, character planning, cozy mystery, action mystery. Awesome. So cool. You guys are awesome. I'm so excited to get into my project today. Yeah, so that's how the live stream works if you're new around here. And as I said at the beginning of this is the last week of the writing retreat for June, which has been really awesome. I've been really enjoying it, enjoying kind of just relaxing a bit and enjoying the process of writing and not rushing around so much with all these other projects and trying to constantly like hustle, 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 because, you know, that's great, obviously, but it's also important to slow down and take the time to enjoy what you love the most, which for me, that's writing. And I think it's the same for you. So that's what this month has given us the opportunity to do together, which is really, really awesome. So yeah, that's what's going on today. And again, I have a weird audio setup here. Oh, I don't think I have my phone. Darn it. Maybe Katie can bring me my phone. I know Kate is moderating this. I don't know why I'm typing it. If Kate is watching this, can she bring me my phone? Oh, okay.
Is that 71%? Do you want it plugged in or do you just want it?
No, this is great. Thank you so much.
Have fun.
Thanks. It's so convenient because like I always forget something and Kate is always there to get it for me. She's awesome. Okay, so I have a weird setup here. I'm writing on this computer and live streaming on this computer. I'm listening to music on that laptop, and I'm setting up my timer on my phone so that we can all hear it when it goes off. It's like the weirdest setup, but that's how we roll. So 25 minutes on the timer. Get your timers going if you want to have your own timer. If not, you will hear mine go off when when it rings. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. For some reason, my Spotify is not working. Okay, so who's ready to write? I know I'm super ready, and I've been talking for a while now. I think we've all jumped on the live stream. So let's get started. I woke up like really early this morning and I was so like scattered, feeling like I didn't know what to do. But I started working on the timeline for this book and now I'm excited to get back into it. So yeah, let's get started. 25 minutes on the timer. Let's go. I'm just gonna let him in.
I'm just gonna let him come in.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, I didn't notice. It's okay. there is our first timer. Actually, I have no idea how many words I wrote because it's not in my draft. Maybe today. Cannot be 963. That is hard to believe. But maybe. How did your sprint go? Comment in the chat and let me know. Looks like you wrote some awesome words. 797, 673, 422. I actually don't even know how many I wrote because I was working on the document this morning and I'm jumping all around, adding things in random places. So I think I probably must have written 400, 500, something like that of my outline. So I'm glad that sprint went well for you guys. I'm going to answer some questions before we go into our next sprint, as is our tradition here. Question from Anna. Do you ever start over? How do you know that's what you need to do? And how do you go about it? That's a good question. Yes, I definitely have started over with projects before that. The beginning just feels like, it's not, it's not what I want. It's happened quite a few times, actually. Usually it's a lack of thinking about it enough. As far as plotting goes, usually if I plot it for long enough, I've outlined it for long enough, I kind of work through the different options and figure out what is the best way to open this story. And then I can really hit on okay, this is a good way to open it. But sometimes I will not think about it too much, or I just have, I just change my mind. I change the way I feel about it later. And how I go about restarting a project, or rather rewriting the beginning, is by really thinking about what is the, first of all, what is the best way to start this as far as taking into account getting to know my characters and making the reader care about my characters from page one, if that's possible, and what is the best way to do that. And it's not always it doesn't always require a total rewrite. Sometimes it just requires moving the first chapter, making the first chapter something else that you've already written. Maybe it's backstory, or maybe it's chapter 2. Maybe chapter 2 should really be chapter 1. So looking at all of those things and being open-minded, I think, is the best thing when you're tackling a rewrite, because there are so many ways to go about something. And sometimes it's the way that the most off the wall idea is the one that's really a good idea. So it's good to be open-minded about that when you're rewriting and starting over with a new project. Super chat just came in. Thank you so much to Not Sorry, Just Max. Abby, seeing you is like seeing a friend. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad. And I'm so glad you're here on this Write With Me live stream. Thank you for the super chat. Do you have any general tips when writing a non-linear story, and how to not reveal backstory things too soon or too late? Yes, this is definitely a tricky writing device or plot device to navigate around, as a non-linear timeline. But it definitely can be done, so don't be too intimidated by it. Actually, I've talked about this in videos before, and me and Kate did a podcast about nonlinear timelines and what works and what doesn't. And it was one of the longer podcasts we did back when we were doing story mining, and we used 4 different story examples, 2 good examples, 2 not so good examples of nonlinear timelines. Definitely check out that episode, because that's a really good episode, and I can't really remember what it's called, so I'm actually going to put it in the chat right now. But basically, the thing to remember with nonlinear timelines It's right here, actually. This is an older episode. The thing to remember with nonlinear timelines is cause and effect. Because really, everything in your story has to follow cause and effect, right? Even if you're going to a flashback. My video on flashbacks will also help you out with this. The best way to go into a flashback or go into backstory is to show us the direct connection to why it matters in the present moment. Okay, why are we going into this backstory or this flashback? There has to be a cause and effect. Okay, it can't just be like randomly we're in a flashback and we have no idea why. But this is going to be important later. Like, yeah, it can be important later, but it has to be more than that. It has to be more than just, this will be important later. It has to have a direct trigger. Why are we going into this? And how does it impact the story moving forward? And every story I've ever seen that abides by this rule of when I ask the question, then I get the answer in the flashback. I don't get the answer first, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I see how that's relevant now, way later on. You know what I mean? So it's important to answer the reader's questions as they're going through your story, but to let it unfold in a natural way. And by that, I mean following the law of cause and effect, because that's how we process everything. Okay, so I go into all of that in the flashback video. Check that out. Also check out the podcast that I posted in the chat here, because that's one of my favorites. Actually, we went like super deep into case studying some stories, and it was really fun. Abby, can you please explain how to write dreams? There's no like one size fits all way to write dreams. Okay, it depends on how you want your reader to feel about what they're reading. If you want them to feel really deep, really immersed in the character that they're reading, the character's point of view, then you probably want them to feel not necessarily like they understand everything that's happening at the exact time that it's happening. Because when you're having a dream, sometimes you don't really realize that it's not reality, right? Sorry, my dog wants to leave. Yeah, you're hungry, aren't you? There you go. Here, it's someone in the kitchen. He's like, oh, food? Is it time for me to eat? So off he goes. I guess there goes my writing partner. Anyway, so what was I saying? Dreams. Writing dreams. It's okay to make them like confusing and almost delirious feeling if that's what you want your character to be experiencing, okay? But I would avoid like making too many dreams happen in the same story, just because it can get a little bit jarring and like frustrating for the reader if they're like constantly questioning, is this real or is this not? But that can also be part of your style, you know what I mean? Like if that's in keeping with the style of the book, maybe that works. So there's like really no like one size fits all method for this. It's just, it has to abide by the rule that we abide by with everything else, right? Which is, why does it matter? Okay, we have to know why we're even reading this. Why is this happening? The dream should have some sort of relevance to the story. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of just like the basics, obviously, but good question. Super chat, thank you so much to Ivania. We writers often write from our own experiences. How can I write about someone without offending them? Should I disguise the incident? So this is out of context, of course, but I think you definitely don't have to write from experience. Like if we were only allowing ourselves to write from experience, we wouldn't have much to write about, right? I mean, we write about so many things that we've never actually experienced. But I like to say, not write what you know, but write what you know emotionally. So if you feel that emotionally you can relate to another person's experience, even if you haven't had the same exact literal experience as them, if you can relate to them on an emotional level, that's what you need to write into this story. That's what you are bringing to the story. That is, it's yours, but it's also someone else's, you know? And that's what's going to make it relatable to other people. So I think that really transcends the, like I have to relate to this literal event that's happening. Like you don't have to. Now you should do your research and you should talk to people who have experienced whatever it is you're writing about, and try your best to respectfully convey that in a realistic way. But don't like intimidate yourself too much and think like, I can't write about this because I never really personally went through it. That's okay. You don't have to personally go through what you're writing about in order to understand the emotion and the feeling behind it and the basic like psychological journey that this character would go on experiencing that. Okay, so absolutely dive into that, be bold, be courageous, but do your research and talk to people as well who can help you to write this story more authentically and more true to real life. And chances are they'll be thrilled to talk to you about it and thrilled that you are excited about putting a story out in the world that expresses their deepest feelings as well. So go for it. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question, then we're going to get back into our next writing sprint. And then I'll answer more questions after that sprint, okay? So, let's see. Oops. Chat jumped so quickly. Abby, how do you make the aha moment powerful but not cheesy? I want my MC's transformation to seem realistic and awesome. I watched your video on the aha moments, but I'm still not sure. Thank you. So my video on the aha moment does like go super deep into, you know, exactly how I feel about this story beat. It is my favorite story beat. So yeah, that caught my eye just now. But as far as making it like feel realistic and not cheesy, I think this has to do with not so much what the character is thinking or saying or what their narration, their like internal monologue is, as much as their action beyond that, okay? Because you could literally like write the aha moment and have them go through all this internal narration of thinking about how they have, you know, come to this realization, this transformation, and they feel and think differently. Okay, you could do that and then have them, you know, go about acting out of that new realization. Or you don't even have to go into super deep narration and thoughts about how they feel differently. Just show us by showing us the character's action. Okay, how does this realization affect the action that they take? And that is really the difference between telling and showing. Okay, not so much like I have to tell my reader how the character has changed and what they think now, as much as have the reader just watch the character, watch them go on this journey and on this transformation, and then go about living differently. And what choices do they make after their aha moment? Because that's really the biggest tell that they've changed, right? Actions speak louder than words. Your character could be sitting in a room thinking all day, you know, I've really changed and I feel different and I think different, and this is now my beliefs. Or they could act on those new beliefs. And the action is what shows the reader that this character has transformed as a result of their journey. So that's really all you need to do. Make the character make decisions based on their new belief and show us what that looks like. What does their life look like with this new belief after their aha moment? Hopefully that helps. Also study some of your own favorite stories with really good aha moments that you personally love and look at the similarities. What are the similarities? What are the things that make that feel like really realistic and not cheesy? That's also just a go-to way that I find really helpful to write better in any area of story. Okay, I'm gonna answer more questions after this writing sprint, but let's get into our second writing sprint because I've been talking for way too long already. 25 minutes on the timer. Get your timers ready, and I'll talk to you then. That's my phone, not your phone. Timer number 2 just rang for the end of our second word sprint. How did it go? Let me know in the chat. I have to actually like calculate mine because like I said, I'm not writing the draft, so outlining. Actually, I just do it in my head. 417 words for me. How did your writing sprint go? Let me know in the chat. I'm just gonna send this over. If that's your thing, of course, don't feel obligated to track your word count obsessively if you don't feel like it, because I definitely don't do that all the time. Cool. Looks like it went well for you. Awesome. Am I doing NaNoWriMo this year? Probably not. Last year I attempted to do Nano, and I was kind of just like continuing to write the Lighthouse book. So it wasn't really like an official NaNoWriMo, and it was just like, it was such a busy month last year that I ended up not really getting a lot of writing in. So I probably won't do Nano this year, but who knows? I just am planning on having like a really busy November and December. And it's going to be exciting because I can't say why exactly, but like it's going to be great. You guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be a great November. Let's just say that. Okay. Wrote 1,300 words so far. Awesome. Way to go. You guys are awesome. You're doing great. I'm so glad you're here writing with me today. Can I thank you in my book's acknowledgments? Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Please do. I'm totally honored. That is so sweet of you. And I'm so glad that my videos have been helpful and inspiring to you to the point where I've made it into your acknowledgments. That's just so amazing. Looks like a super chat just came in. 2 super chats just came in. Thank you so much to Snore Productions. I'm afraid of writing something too similar to other works. When does a story stop being inspired by and start becoming a ripoff? I want an invisible maze in my story, an idea from a Lovecraft story. So that's a good question. There's definitely a fine line between inspired by and like ripping something off or like copying something. I think the way to make sure it's just inspiration is by making sure that your story is not copying too much or taking too much from just one source. So I talked about this a bit in my video on how to come up with a story idea, and I shared like my story smoothie method of basically taking like at least 4 different stories and mixing all of the different elements that you like the best from those stories, and then putting your own twist on it, of course, bringing your own ideas to it, but making it so that you're not just taking from one source and kind of doing your own version of it. You're taking a lot of different sources and a lot of different elements from those different sources and mixing them together to create something new, something that's all your own, and bringing your own style to it. So if it's just like one component of the story and it's reminding you of another story, also keep in mind that there's a thing called tropes, and it's sometimes just like something that multiple people do. It's not just this one story. So even though you may have only read one story that includes this element, other authors have probably used it. So sometimes a story, especially like a classic or a modern classic, can kind of start its own trope, okay? And it inspires a lot of other stories that are like it, that are similar, and it almost becomes like a sub-genre of its own. So that's something to consider as well. But definitely check out that video I made, because I think that would help a lot with this issue. Another super chat. Whoops, I just lost it. Okay, from Allie. Thank you so much. Do you ever get emotionally overwhelmed while writing? Currently crying along with my protagonist. Yes, I do. And it's a really like amazing feeling, isn't it? Like when you are so immersed in your protagonist's point of view that you get really emotional with that protagonist. I've definitely cried over my own writing while writing. I also find myself really emotionally immersed in my characters, even when I'm not writing and I'm just thinking about my story or plotting it. And I will like go through a scene and just like feel all of their emotions, almost like, I don't know what it is. It's like sort of like acting, but not, because I'm just like by myself in my room or whatever. But I'm like going through this scene in my head, even like saying the dialogue out loud. And it's like quite theatrical sometimes, but it's quite emotional as well. And I definitely feel that when I'm writing, to the point where sometimes I'm like, I have to write in a room by myself, because if like my family is watching me write, they're gonna be like, what is wrong with her? Why is she crying? Why is she getting so emotional? What is she doing? So yeah, sometimes it's tricky. Okay. Question. Hi, Abby. Do you have any tips on using the 3-act story structure on a story with multiple point of views? Yes, absolutely. I actually made a video about that. If you type in on YouTube, Abby Emmons dual point of views, I go through my methods for writing with 3-act story structure using 2 point of views. Also just some other tips on writing dual point of views. But basically it is the same as writing one character, except you are, of course, juggling different sides of the story. And there are going to be moments where those 2 characters' stories overlap. And then there are going to be moments when they are off doing their own thing or experiencing their own story on the side. So for that, I like to use the 3-act story structure and kind of create like a bullet point outline, something very simple, very minimal, and write just like 1 line per story beat and figure out side by side, to be able to look at that side by side and see when this character is going through this, the other character is going through this, and seeing that comparison can really help to see where their stories overlap and what is going to be like whose point of view you're going to write at certain plot points. So all of that is, I find, helpful to do with the 3-act story structure, because I actually don't even know how I would do without the 3-act story structure. Like if I didn't have some sort of overarching structure, it'd be very difficult, I think, to write dual point of views, because you would constantly be wondering, like, when do I switch over? What is important to see right now? So yeah, structure is definitely a good idea, especially with 2 point of views. Let's see. What do you do when you can't get immersed by emotions when you're writing the story? That is definitely a struggle that I deal with, that I think every writer deals with. those off days where you just don't feel like immersed in anything that you're writing, you don't feel inspired. Sometimes I push through it, other times I take a break. It really depends on whether I'm actually feeling burnt out or I'm just like feeling kind of lazy. Like, I don't really feel like super into this. But usually I try to give myself like a second chance. Like, even if I don't feel like it right away, what happens if I just keep writing? What happens if I just persevere on this? Will it eventually fall into place? And sometimes it does. Sometimes it's like you just didn't really give yourself a chance and you kind of quit too soon, sort of thing. But of course, that all depends on where you are with your lifestyle and all of that. Like, are you actually burnt out? Do you actually need a break? Or are you just like kind of intimidating yourself too much with the idea of this thing you have to write being like something that you can't write, you know? So other things that help me to get emotionally immersed in my character is obviously like the basics, like going through their character in my head, looking at their character profile, thinking about their internal conflict, even like brainstorming and sharpening their internal conflict a bit more, writing backstory, and then other things like music that reminds me of them or making a Pinterest board for them. That can help a lot, actually. The aesthetic boards. The aesthetic boards have really helped my writing a lot, and helped me to like get emotionally immersed in my characters as well. So those are all methods that I use to like get in the zone. Okay, and answer two more, and then we're going to get into our next writing sprint. This is kind of a fun one. What are Tessa and Weston's MBTI types from my book 100 Days of Sunlight? In case you don't know who Tessa and Weston are. If you don't know who they are, who are you even? They were my main characters from my book 100 Days of Sunlight. Tessa is definitely an INFJ because she's basically me. And I'm an INFJ, in case you didn't know that. And yeah, she's like very, very much an INFJ, classic, like introverted, judgy, and like just wants to do the right thing and feels like really morally convicted to like do something good for the world, but she's also like kind of sassy and snarky. And then Weston is an ENFP. At least that's what I peg him as. Of course, like everybody is like very complex and can't fit into just one box or personality type, but I think Weston is an ENFP because he's like super extroverted and fun, life of the party, but he's also deep, like very inspirational and just like very cool and perceptive too. Like he's perceptive of other people's feelings and sensitive, but also a total badass. So yeah, I think he's an ENFP. I think I saw, okay, one more super chat from Douglas. Thank you so much. Love your new desk and writing space, Abby. Do you find it more productive there? I find some spaces are more conducive to creativity. I need solitude and no distractions. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat. And yes, I love this new setup. This is actually a setup that I never really sat at this desk. This desk has been here for a while, but I've never really worked here. So I kind of readjusted the bookshelves and redecorated a bit. And yeah, it's definitely inspiring to be in a clutter-free, distraction-free space. I need to have no distractions and no clutter around me when I'm working or writing. And that definitely helps with creativity, helps with inspiration, helps with getting into flow and staying there. So yeah, it's definitely something that is a must, which I have a few places that I can go to have solitude and no distractions, which is always a good thing. good to have options. So yeah, thank you so much, all of you, for the questions and the super chats. We are going to go into our third writing sprint here, 25 minutes on the timer. Let's go. 25 minutes. Get your timers ready if you so desire, or you can just wait until mine rings. You'll probably hear it over the live stream here. Let's get back to writing. that is the timer for our last sprint. Let's see. 17,138. This outline is getting ridiculously long. It's already over 17,000 words now. Yep. Katie's gonna freak out. 473 words in that sprint. Awesome. And yeah, the going is not super fast because I am still like figuring out different elements of the plot while I am doing this. So you've probably seen my my setup here. I have like 2 different panels open on Scrivener. I have my outline and then like jumping back to different chapters, looking at the inspector panel, looking at like my synopsis for, because some of this I'm like writing outline for stuff I've already written just to make sense of it. And then this is like a timeline, like an actual calendar that I wrote in like every day what happens on each day in the story, which is actually like I find a really helpful way to do a timeline and like stick to make sure that like time is going by at a normal pace and that it's not like weird. So yeah, pro tip, if you're like already into like calendar, time management and stuff like that, you will like doing that for your book. I like doing it for my books because it's just really helpful, I find. So looks like you guys had a good sprint. 664 words total. Awesome. 1,600 words. Awesome. 1,200, 1,000. You guys are so awesome. Congratulations and great work. Great work today. I think let's see how much I've written today in this session. I did write a few words to my timeline before, probably like 100 words or so. But 1,800 words. 1,800 words added to my outline during this session. Some of that I was copying and pasting some notes from random other documents. So it's kind of like a messy process when I'm outlining, but I can get like really into flow when I'm doing it. So that's always fun. Okay. Awesome. I'm glad you guys had a good writing session. I had a great writing session. I'm so glad that you guys were able to join me today for this writing session. It's been super fun just hanging out every week and writing together. I've so enjoyed it. And I want to do a live stream next Wednesday. I don't think it's going to be a Write With Me live stream, but I wanted to do like a Q&A kind of wrap up live stream because it's the last day of the month. So it's like the official ending of our writing retreat together. And I wanted to like answer more of your questions, because on these live streams, I can never get to enough of your questions because we're obviously working at the same time. So I wanted to answer more of your questions. And I also wanted to just like have some, like tea time chat about our various writing projects and about my writing projects. And yeah, just like a nice little wrap up for the end of this writing retreat. So stick around. I will be posting the announcement for that next Tuesday, and we'll be going live on Wednesday at some point. I'm not sure when. But until then, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining the writing session today. I had so much fun writing with you guys and talking with you. And I hope to see you next week on the wrap up month live stream. That will be fun. And I'll answer more of your questions then and just chat about our stories and the progress we made this month. So yeah, I will see you then. And thank you again for the super chats. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your amazing support and love that you show me every week on this channel. I couldn't do any of this without you guys, and I love you guys so much. Until next week, rock on.